Hello and welcome back to a new Kerbal Space Program video, and I welcome you with a liftoff. So in today's video we're not only doing a tribute to the recent SLS launch, no, I'm actually going to talk to you about a secret mission you didn't know actually existed. And the most interesting part is, it's actually way more interesting than you think. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Actually, this video is not only a information video, because usually I don't do those kinds of things. No, it's mainly a small little tribute video to the recently launched SLS. Finally, the behemoth took to the skies. Has been quite a long wait for pretty much everybody in the space community. And of course, it's not really that recent. It's been more than a week actually, to be quite frank, but I'm not really doing this for the quote-unquote information, to distribute information. Oh, have a look at the SLS launch. No, it's just more or less, I decided to make another video, and I thought that would be quite an interesting topic. So, obviously, we are doing, or in the video, we have the SLS as well. There are some liberties here and there to make it more Kerbal-y, but I'll talk about them whenever they actually appear on screen. So right now we are doing exactly like the SLS, doing pretty much the entire ascent into orbit with the core stage. The only small little thing there is the core stage is, we are almost in orbit. We just have to pretty much circle around for another few hundred meters or something like that, so that the actual core stage burns up in the atmosphere. Now we've ditched the stage, we are in the cryogenic propulsion stage, and ditching all the fairings and the launch abort system. So with that, we are pretty much in low Earth orbit, aka low Cuban orbit. Now we can deploy the solar panels and have a look at the gracious replica of the Orion spacecraft. Well, like I said, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect replica, but I think it's quite decent, quite well for the regular stock parts. So there are only stock parts, no mods except visual mods for the background and I think waves, clouds, and the dark sky, because otherwise in stock KSP you can see a bunch of stars and that makes kind of no sense. So yeah, those are the only mods, like pretty much they've always been for almost everyone on the channel. Anyways, after that we are igniting our stage again to do our trans-lunar injection burn, like the actual SLS there, because with this stage we will be shooting to the moon. Once we are on a trajectory to the moon, we are ditching the stage, and well, going forward we'll only be with the Orion capsule as well as the service module. I'm not quite sure whether they actually did a small little correction burn on the way to the moon. I'm not sure. We will do one for Kerbal sake. I'm flying by hand, then program that thing or anything like that. Anyways, now onto this small little, or onto the actual main and interesting part of the mission. So since we are finally going back to the moon, since this is actually the spacecraft that's ventured further, well, the largest spacecraft in, I'm not quite sure how many years, in quite a long time, to venture further than LEO, so further than low Earth orbit. Obviously there are the interplanetary missions, but in terms of weight, Orion is actually really heavy. It's quite big spacecraft. And since we're already going out to the moon, it makes sense to use this opportunity. There are a couple of small little cubesats hitching a ride on the spacecraft to the moon. To be more specific, 10 cubesats are actually aboard the spacecraft, or were aboard the spacecraft going to the moon. And before I talk about those spacecraft, which is actually the main topic, small little reminder, the Orion spacecraft actually went into a retrograde orbit. We are going into a prograde orbit. Yeah, I just decided to go into a prograde orbit. Doesn't really make any difference in terms of actual gameplay, but just to stay true, well, tell the actual orbit. Anyways, so there were, like I said, 10 CubeSats, and the interesting part about one of them is the Omotenashi CubeSat from the Japanese space agency JAXA, and this CubeSat actually attempted to land on the moon. You heard me right. landing on the moon. The mission of the Orion spacecraft flying around the moon made more headlines than a mission actually landing on the moon. Just imagine how crazy that is. But it's actually a true story. However, like the name suggests, a CubeSat, very small little satellite. So and here is the other rather large inconsistency. As you can see, we have a quite large lander or satellite, or however you want to call that, right now on screen. Because, well, I tried to make it as small, building around the CubeSat analogy and like probe core in Qube Space program, but still it turned out to be quite larger than I hoped for. But I wanted to make it really capable, actually a real lander being able to land on the surface. We have an ion engine, we have 2 batteries, we have some RCS, solar panels, and that's pretty much it. And there's no, by the way, on this probe, there is no reaction wheel, so we can only control the attitude and orientation with the RCS. That's why I'm actually using it quite scarcely, so that we only have those 15 units and no more. And you know that I haven't part clipped, just a tiny tad the 2 tanks that you can see in the front to make them look more or less cohesive, but apart from that, no part, well, there is no part clip. Anyway, so onto the actual lander, the actual Omotenashi lander. Well, sadly failed, as you probably can tell by the way I'm talking about it, but it would have been, or it was 12 kilograms in weight, as well as, and this, the dimensions were 34 centimeters by 23 by 10 centimeters. So, like I said, a very small little lander. The other rather large inconsistency here is, it actually was supposed to use SRBs, well, a solid rocket motor to decelerate, and then the last final part of kinetic energy would have been absorbed by an airbag, and with that it would have been also the first attempt, or the first time landing with an airbag assisted landing system on the moon. We have done something like that on Mars already, as you probably know, however never on the moon. So this would have also tested these sorts of landing systems for the moon, or for the lunar environment. Or lunar environment, and now we're doing on the moon, not with an airbag landing system because that's not possible in Qube Space program, but still a, I think, quite fun looking little lander. And with that being said, then I'll actually put a small little info chart into the video so that you can see how it should have been. Anyway, sadly it failed. However, in the Qube universe, no, here we didn't fail. Here the lander actually came really close to the surface of the moon, hovering and then reducing its throttle slowly but surely, getting closer to the surface of the moon until we going to make a soft touchdown. Because, well, we were lucky enough that our probe didn't fail after deployment. So with that, we have actually completed a nice little touchdown, and the probe successfully completed its mission. However, we still have the actual Orion spacecraft in orbit around the moon. Now we are going to, well, go back home, back to Qube, and we will do return or actual escape burn from the moon back towards the sphere of influence of Qube and doing a deorbit burn there. Pretty much the same thing as Orion will be doing quite soon, depending whenever you're watching this video, or already did. Going back to Earth, going through the atmosphere, and obviously letting the service module burn up in the atmosphere, since the only thing that is actually theoretically being able to be reused is the capsule itself. However, as far as I'm aware, they don't really plan on doing that. But here in KSP it doesn't really matter either way. Even if you're trying to recover something, it will just get turned into free cash. But at the end of the day, this is a nice video game and everybody loves it, right? So with that being said, splashdown, I hope you have enjoyed this small little video and have a nice day. Goodbye.